things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Ripon Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Multiverse broadcasting system initiated.
Lasers.
Multiverse connection established.
Lasers.
Hello.
Multiverse connection secure.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This is My Life DIY, and
Hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Ripon Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to Dark Wolf's Den.
The Dark Wolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret mountain cave, hidden deep within the Idaho wilderness, this is the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live across the multiverse from a secret cave, hidden high up in the beautifully snow-covered peaks of the Idaho mountains. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, tearing through the atmosphere, and tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the Dark Wolf's Den Show for Thursday, June 24th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be discussing animal-human hybrids. There's been a lot of stories of cryptids that seem to be like frogmen and dogmen and many, many others, and we're going to cover some of those tonight. Thursday, June 24th, 2021, on the Dark Wolf's Den radio show. But first, today in history. On this day in 1901, the first exhibition by Pablo Picasso opens in Paris. Pablo Picasso himself was only aged 19 years old at the time. And that is today's Today in History. I did not know that he was only 19 years old when he put his first exhibition up. Did you guys know that? That is pretty cool. That means, you know, a true artist. He must have been practicing for years, right? To have a full exhibition by 19? That is too awesome. And before we get into tonight's topic of animal-human hybrids, we've got one more thing to do.
Say what?
Today's quote comes from an anonymous source. It says, "Today I saw a woman talking to her cat. She really thought the cat understood. When I got home, I told my dog, and we both had a good laugh." Again, that is by an anonymous source, and that is today's segment of
Say What?
That cracks me up every time, that Stewie sound. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that quote today. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about human-animal hybrids tonight, and it is amazing to me, studying cryptids, how many of them that there are. Last night, we talked about Arizona, and there's actually a story from last night's episode that I was not able to get to, so we're going to start out with that tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently, Arizona, we know, has a lot of weird cryptids, but one cryptid that they have is called the Goat Man. That's right, half man, half goat. Kind of like a demon, doesn't it? That's what it sounds like to me, like a pan creature, right? Well, we're just going to have to listen to the case file. Ladies and gentlemen, the Goat Man of Arizona.
The Goat Man. Around the areas of Parker and Tempe, there have been sightings of a half-man, half-goat. Although it should be noted in some cases the head of the creature is still that of a goat. According to the stories, this creature can be both bad and good depending on the encounter, but all states that you should never run from one of them.
I find the fact that it can be either bad or good very intriguing. That shows more of a human-like quality, right? Not just a bad creature or just a good creature, one that has an emotional value to it.
In one report, 2 boys encountered this cryptid, and once they realized what it was, they quickly got away, and nothing bad happened to them. Yet, in another instance, a group of teenagers were sitting near a fire when they suddenly were visited by a 7-foot-tall goat man who managed to grab one of the kids.
7-foot-tall goat man. Are you sure it wasn't Krampus grabbing kids? That really sounds like Krampus. What do you think, Sandy B? You out there in the chat? You think it might have been a Krampus, Sandy? For those listening on the radio, Sandy B is one of the people over here in our YouTube chat room. If you'd like to join us on YouTube, we are on the Ripon Rabbit Hole. We're live over here on the YouTube, and we will be back up on the Dark Wolf's Den show on YouTube also.
With this story, the kid that was grabbed was never seen again, and it is assumed, due to hearing him screaming, that the creature killed him.
I don't know how valid that assumption would be. I mean, just because the kid's screaming and was never heard from again, he could have just been kidnapped and taken back and raised by the goat man. I mean, that's not completely insane, right?
There isn't much to go on with this, but I did want to mention it. At the same time, I am curious if it wasn't actually a skinwalker. I do find it interesting how many cryptids in Arizona have the ability to change forms.
And you know, that's something I didn't think about. Maybe some of them are skinwalkers and shapeshifters, right? Maybe they just change form and they're all the same creature. We do know of another creature also found in Arizona, among other places, that is well known for changing their shape or having chameleon-like tendencies, right?
Probably the most famous would be what is simply called reptoids or reptilians. I am hesitant with this one since many, including myself, view this creature more in lines with aliens than cryptids.
And while I personally do agree, I view reptilians as more of an alien myself, just the same, reptilians are a lizard man, right?
Most stories involving these beings are said to come from the aptly named Superstition Mountains near Phoenix. Conspiracy theorists have long held this area as being home to an underground military base, which is said to house these beings.
Dulce Base is one of the many bases that are accused of housing beings underground, such as reptilians.
In reading over many of the accounts, the reptoids are responsible for people passing out, only to wake up hours later with no recollection of what happened to them. Yet in other stories, these beings are said to kidnap people who unwarily enter the area. In one strange story, 3 bike riders in the Sonoran Desert stopped to take a break from their ride. At that moment, they noticed a 6-foot-tall lizard-like creature walking across the path.
That's another interesting thing I find about this story. The creature was only 6 foot tall, not 8, 10, 12 foot, whatever. 6 foot tall reptilian, a standard size creature.
They said it had black eyes with a gold-colored stripe in the center.
Like a lizard's eye.
Its skin was scaly and green with red patches.
As you guys know, I love those small details. The skin was green and scaly with red patches. Now, there's something you don't often hear. It wasn't just a green scaly dude. You know, it was very specific on the explanation of this thing's skin. Interesting. Just really interesting.
And it didn't have a nose, but it did have 2 slits for nostrils. Once it noticed the men, it stood there for a while, and finally it raised one hand that had long claws on it, and it began to chatter its teeth and hiss. Luckily, it didn't attack, but rather ran away into the desert. The men believed it was actually observing them the whole time, even after it vanished from sight.
And if that isn't the classic description of a reptilian, I don't know what is. Now, it's interesting that the thing ran from them, but the hissing, the reaction, like I've seen this in multiple case files. Mind you, not every case file, but when it comes to reptilians, that's actually classic demeanor for them, believe it or not. But the reptilians aren't only in Arizona, as we know, and the reptilians aren't the only reptile-type creature either. There's another really famous case known as the Loveland Frogman.
Amphibious anomalies have shocked and terrified both businessmen, farmers, and police officers, and remain one of the most intriguing cryptozoological mysteries in the United States. One of the most intriguing cases encountered is that of the Loveland Frogman, or Loveland Lizards. The story of these unique creatures began in May of 1955.
And this comes to us from the Unexplained Mysteries YouTube channel, and I find this interesting that the case goes back to the 1950s, because it's right around that time that we have a slew of lizard and reptilian creature reports across the country.
On a lonely stretch of road that runs along the Miami River in Claremont County, just on the outskirts of a small town known as Loveland. At approximately 3:30 a.m., an unnamed businessman claimed to have witnessed 3 bipedal reptilian entities gathering on the side of the road. the man pulled his car to the side of the curb and observed these creatures for what he estimated to be around 3 minutes. During this time, he noticed that these strange beings stood between 3 to 4 feet tall, were covered with leathery skin and had webbed hands and feet.
A little bit different from our previous reptilian report. More like a frog than a lizard, right?
However, their most distinguishing characteristic was their distinctly frog-like head, which the man claimed bore deep wrinkles where the hair should have been.
Well, I guess that answers our question. It definitely sounds like a frog then. But the story only gets stranger from here.
Just as the man was about to leave, one of the creatures suddenly held what the witness could only describe as a wand. The eyewitness could then see the strange creature holding the wand above its head. Thus begins the bizarre legend of the Loveland Frogman. This tale would be fascinating enough if it ended there, but the two most significant encounters in this case were yet to come.
So I don't know what happened after the frog held the wand over its head. I don't know if it started looking like a human or if it disappeared into another dimension. I don't know. But the stories that follow only continue to get more and more strange with this creature.
At about 1 AM on March the 3rd, 1972, nearly 17 years after the first report, a police officer was travelling along a roadside heading towards Loveland when he saw something that would change his life forever. The officer claimed that he was driving slowly when he saw what looked like a dog on the curb. Suddenly, the animal darted in front of the car, forcing the officer to slam on the brakes, in order to avoid a potential collision with the creature. Once the police cruiser came to a halt, its headlights fell upon the animal. At this point, the officer described something that seems literally too bizarre to be true. In the span of seconds, this crouched, frog-like creature stood on its 2 legs, stared back at the policeman, then scrambled over the guardrail, and scurried down the embankment, finally disappearing into the river. The officer in question described the creature as being 3 to 4 feet tall and weighing in the area of 50 to 75 pounds. He also claimed that its skin had a leathery texture and that the animal's features resembled those of a frog or lizard.
You know, you can dismiss some of these cases, but when you have a case like this, where the creature almost exactly, minus the height, but almost exactly matches the creature from the 1950s, I don't know, it's just, and these are police officers reporting this. This isn't just, average Joe looking for a book deal or whatever. This is a police officer who's run upon this creature who is now a frog that's hopped off into the river. Yeah, I'd be kind of tripped out. But what I find intriguing is you have these similarities over both of these case files, even though it was almost 20-year differential between them.
Another officer investigated the scene later that evening. He saw no sign of the creature, but reported there were distinct scratch marks on the guardrail where the animal purportedly crossed.
So there was at least some circumstantial evidence to suggest that the story was true.
The second sighting occurred 2 weeks later while police officer Mark Matthews had an encounter of his own. According to the report, Officer Matthews, while driving into Loveland, spotted what he believed to be an injured animal lying on the pavement. Matthews climbed out of his car with the intention of removing the carcass from the already ice-slicked road, when the creature suddenly lurched upwards into a crouched position. Taken back by the reptilian creature, Matthews took a shot at the creature, which then proceeded to hobble over the side of the road and step over a guardrail, all while keeping a watchful eye on the trigger-happy officer. Matthews' frogman matched the first officer's description down to the last detail, with the exception of a tail which was absent in earlier reports.
And of course, this is the point where the skeptic goes, aha, another detail that wasn't there, it must be a lie. Well, not actually. Just because one person picks up a detail that the rest missed doesn't necessarily mean it's even a different creature. In a moment of, oh my god, you tend not to pick up every single small detail, though a tail, I admit, is something that is kind of, able to be picked up on. But maybe it's a different aged creature. Maybe it's literally a different creature altogether. Same species, same group, but different individual. We also know, like tadpoles, if it is frog people, tadpoles or the younger ones have a tail before they grow out of it. So maybe it was a teenage mutant frog, right? Teenage mutant ninja frog.
In the years which have followed these events, Officer Matthews has changed his story. He now claims the animal in question was nothing more than a large reptile which escaped from its owner. Some have said that Matthews' change of heart was because of ridicule by superiors. It's hard to believe that this creature ever existed, but one has to question what other animal you would confuse this with. Do you think the Loveland Frogman exists, or once existed?
And there was a 20-year span between these creatures being seen. So it's not like they just, didn't hunt or didn't appear for 20 years, unless maybe it was. Because we do know that certain animals can slow their blood down in certain situations and literally hibernate. If I'm not mistaken, frogs may have this ability. At least some frogs have this ability, I do know. So perhaps these creatures only come out every 20 years or so to feed or to do whatever they do, right? Perhaps they only come out for a little while every 17 years. I say 20 years, I rounded, but it was 17 years between sightings. So maybe they have like cicadas. Cicadas have, 17, 18 years between times they come out of the ground? Perhaps that's exactly the case with these frogmen. Perhaps it has a number of years before they actually come back to reality, or perhaps it's the wand. The wand is what intrigues me. Maybe they're interdimensional travelers. Maybe only every 17 years can they come across our dimension. I don't know. I'm speculating. This is all speculation, but it's very, very intriguing. And what's really intriguing is the fact that we have these across the country, from reptilians in Arizona to frogmen in Ohio. And there's been many reports across the entire country. We're going to get into a crazy one in the second half called the Jersey Devil, if you've never heard of it. That's a human hybrid creature that is very, very crazy story. But speaking of human hybrids, before we get into that, what is the possibilities of it being real? I know usually I'll wait till the second half, but I can't wait. What is the likelihood that these creatures are real? Now, from the 1950s and 70s, I can agree possibly the technology wasn't there. However, today's technology is actually in question of the ability to do just this, to create human-animal hybrids in a lab. And, maybe that's what's been done from the beginning. Maybe a lot of these cryptids and these human-animal hybrids are where these experiments have been done by this group that is many, many years ahead of the mainstream group, of course. Perhaps these experiments have escaped the lab and have found a way to reprocreate. Perhaps they are literally half human, half other creatures. And if that sounds a little crazy to you, well, check this out.
This is it. Human stem cells being injected into a pig's embryo.
And this report comes to us from CBC News.
For the first time, scientists are seeing how our cells grow and interact inside an animal. This pig, the first known chimera.
Yeah, you heard that correct. Like the chimeras from the ancient Greek and Roman times. And there were a lot of those, like the satyrs, and there were a lot of creatures, the minotaurs, the centaur. They gave us the mermaid. They gave us a whole lot of these animal-human crossover creatures. It's almost as if they were describing what they were seeing, possibly.
The ultimate goal for this type of research is to whether we can use this technology to generate human tissue and organs. That's going to give us a lot of unique insights.
Right now, scientists are nowhere near that goal.
Let me rephrase what she said. Officially, the mainstream narrative is that scientists are nowhere near that goal, but we know the deep underground projects are way past that, undoubtedly.
But recent studies have shown how that process can work using gene editing. Scientists would delete a specific piece of an animal's DNA, so its embryo wouldn't be able to grow a heart, for example. Then they'd inject that embryo with human stem cells, which move into the void and grow a human heart. The embryo would then be put back inside the animal to develop.
So this report comes to us from 4 years ago. However, I have a report now for you guys from 2 months ago.
Serious ethical issues are being raised after it emerged that US and Chinese scientists have implanted human cells into monkey embryos.
Do you want Planet of the Apes? Because this is how you get Planet of the Apes, right here. This is what you do. You put human stuff into monkeys, or monkey stuff into humans, and you make monkeys that are smarter than regular monkeys, and monkeys that take over the world. This is how you end up with Planet of the Apes, right here.
The aim of the research is to understand more about how cells develop and to help research in cultivating organs for transplant.
This is one of the most slippery slopes I've ever seen. And here's what they're going to do, guys. This is how they're going to introduce transhumanism. This is how they're going to introduce a lot of the technology into humanity. And it's going to be through biotech. It's going to be a way to, quote, help the paralyzed, help the needy, help those with medical injury. And it's going to slowly weasel its way in until it's made itself into mainstream. And then they're going to do whatever they want. So, guys, every time they talk about, well, this is going to be a great advancement for stem cells, it's going to be an advancement for humankind, be scared. Be very, very scared, because what their idea of advancement is and what your idea of a good advancement is a whole lot different, that I assure you. But now that we've heard what they did with the pig and how they grew the human stem cells in the pig, let's see what they did with the monkey.
The scientists injected human stem cells, cells that have the ability to develop into many different body tissues, into macaque embryos. The developing embryos were studied for up to 20 days. Other so-called mixed species embryos, or chimeras, have been produced in the past, with human cells implanted into sheep and pig embryos. This scientific group was led by Professor Juan Belmonte of the Salk Institute in the US. He says the work could address the shortage in transplantable organs and help us understand more about early human development, the way disease progresses, and aging.
Again, that's a very, very slippery slope to go down. How would you like to be 20 years younger? Well, we can grow you a heart that's 20 years younger inside of a pig, though. I don't know. It bothers me. It bothers me the slope that this could go down, because you could literally start making human pigs, human rabbits, human raccoons, human wolves. I thought I was the only one of my kind, dadgummit. I want to be the only one of my kind. But seriously, this is a very dangerous path to go down. This is something that especially ethically, is it right? Because they can get away with it and say, well, it's for the needy. We'll be able to grow new transplant stuff and be able to help more and more people. And that sounds great. And I'm all about helping people. Please don't get me wrong, guys. I don't want to sound callous. I don't want to sound like I don't care about people. I love people. I just want to be very, very clear in asking, what is the ethical repercussions of this? Is it something that we should be doing at all? Should we be mixing human and animals? Could this lead to stuff down the road that could be very, very dangerous? Could it backfire? Could these transplanted things take on features that they aren't supposed to? Extra cancers, diseases introduced into the human society that would have never been there had we not mixed ourselves with animals like sheep and cattle and dog and pig and whatever else there is. Like, is it right? Is it right to mix animal and human? Or is it something that we're literally trying to play God and it's very dangerous to do? Personally, I stand on the conservative side and I say it's a very dangerous thing. What do you guys think? Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat room if you think this is a great idea. We should definitely be doing this. We should be testing, mixing animals and humans of all kinds, and you know, it's for the betterment of mankind. So we should be doing this all the time. Or go ahead and put a 2 in the chat room if you think that this is really a horrible idea. This could lead to some really bad things in the future, and we could have cryptids that we created in a lab that have gotten out, which very well may be the case. And this is just a really bad thing to do, and this is ethically wrong. Go ahead and put a 2 if you think that this is just an absolute bad idea. Or put a 3 if you're on the fence and you're undecided. If you're not sure if this is a good idea or a bad idea, you could see the benefits of both sides. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to jump over and chat for a second, and we're going to go ahead and take a network break, and we'll be right back after these messages. So don't you touch that dial. That's right.
We got to stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, how you doing on a Thursday night? Are you enjoying the Dark Wolf's Den radio show, Human-Animal Hybrids? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of common sense radio, the Ripon Rabbit Hole. I'll be back again tomorrow night, Friday. Can you believe it already? Oh my goodness, June 25th. It's almost the 4th of July. My, oh my, how time does fly. Come along with me as we explore the rabbit hole of confidence. What gives you the strength? What gives you the motivation to have confidence? What breaks down your confidence? What causes you to lose it? A full in-depth exploration of the rabbit hole of confidence. Tomorrow night starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as all shows do. I look forward to spending a night of confidence with you. Then Saturday night, decisions. What causes us to make crucial and perhaps life-changing decisions? Come along with me on Saturday the 26th, a special birthday night I'll tell you more about on Saturday. And then we'll end out the weekend right together with you with our visual Sunday. It's going to be Sideshow Circus. I can tell you, it is for mature audiences only. And if you are not ready to see the thing and pay your 50 cents admission to see all the wild and bizarre things we're going to share with you on our visual Sunday, Sideshow Circus, then you best not tune in on Sunday, June 27th. And that will end out the month together right with you. Oh my goodness. And then next Sunday, the 4th of July, the all new, the whatever we're going to call it. We're going to talk about the name and perhaps vote an official name for the game show that takes place the first Sunday of every month, betterwise known as the all-new Fantastic Fun Show. The battle continues. Eugene will be here tomorrow night. Special guest judge Eugene will be here to answer your questions and field the vote and moderate the vote on what it's going to be called next Sunday, July 4th. I don't care whatever it is, it's going to be explosive. We'll return back to Jerry Hicks and the Dark Wolf's Den Show. You're listening to the very best of common sense radio, the Ripon Rabbit Hole.
Reestablishing multiverse connection. Connection reestablished and secure.
This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Oz.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Ripon Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to Dark Wolf's Den.
The Dark Wolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And welcome back to the second half of the Dark Wolf's Den Show for Thursday, June 24th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, We're glad you chose us to be right there with you. If you're just tuning in tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are discussing animal-human hybrids. We've discussed reptilians and the Loveland Frogman, as well as whether or not it's right to do the animal-human genetic splicing. And tonight we're going to continue our discussion in the second half, but we're going to switch it up a little bit because we're going to get into a case file now that may suggest that some of these cryptids aren't exactly human hybrid laboratory creatures, but may actually have a demonic twist to it. I mentioned in the first half we were going to go over the story of the Jersey Devil, and this is an amazing cryptid story. This is another one of those that's pretty far out there, but pretty wild just the same. And you'll understand in a minute why it's on this list of human-animal hybrids, because this story takes a weird twist, ladies and gentlemen. The story of the Jersey Devil.
Perhaps one of the most famous monsters in American history, the Jersey Devil has struck fear in the residents of the New Jersey Pine Barrens for centuries. Although stories of the devil have been retold in seemingly endless variations, the true origins of the legend can be traced back to a real family who inhabited the Pine Barrens during the 17th century, and whose unorthodox beliefs led to rumors of supernatural occurrences. But is the creature simply a product of religious feuds and superstition, or is there more to the story? Did the Jersey Devil really exist?
And of course, all we can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and be our own judge. But one thing that adds credence to this, once again, is the family that is said to have experienced this is known to have been a real family in the 1700s. So, I mean, it could be a bit of credence, but let's go over the whole case file and let's find out the intricate details of this story.
The story of the Jersey Devil starts, like many stories of its kind, on a dark and stormy night.
It was a dark and stormy night. I love stories that start like that.
It's 1735, and deep within the Pine Barrens, in an old cabin, a witch named Mother Leeds is giving birth. Having already given birth to 12 other children, the arrival of her 13th child is painful and unwelcome. In a fit of rage and agony, she cries out,
"Let this one be the devil."
What emerges from inside of her isn't a child, but instead a strange, demon-like chimera, with a horse-like head, hooves, a forked tail, and bat wings.
So this isn't just an animal-human hybrid. This is a multiple animal-human hybrid that came out of a human's womb.
The creature wrecks the room and kills the midwife, before flying up the chimney and escaping into the night. In some variations of the story, Mother Leeds curses the child after finding out she's pregnant. In other versions, the child's father is the devil himself.
I would also like to point out that this story is from the 1800s, so it's long before gene splicing was ever even thought of as being a thing, even by the secret underground programs, which I don't even think existed back at that point. So that really narrows out any idea of human interference. This has a true supernatural twist to it. And it's a nice story, but what about evidence? Is there any sightings since this story was supposed to have happened?
Early as the 18th century, people began reported sightings of the creature. Tales of inhuman wails echoing through the trees, of children being carried away, and people being awakened to see the silhouette of the demon outside their window. In 1820, Joseph Bonaparte, the eldest brother of Napoleon, wrote in his journal that he saw and fired upon a creature matching the Jersey Devil's description.
So here we have a journal entry from the 1800s where somebody fired upon a creature that matches this exact description.
In 1840, the devil was blamed for several livestock killings, which would reoccur in 1859. The sightings reached a fever pitch on January of 1909, when strange tracks were being found in the snow from places as far away as Delaware and Maryland.
And this next part of the case file I ran across years and years ago, and this is one of the strangest of all the parts of any case file I've ever found. If you can figure out how this happened, let me know. Check this out.
The hoof prints went over and under fences, through fields, and across the rooftops of houses. They were believed to have been made by a bipedal creature, and the fact that they often ended abruptly led people to believe that the creature could also fly.
The footprints went over houses, over and under fences. up walls, just in places that the footprints should not have gone. It's like something just started walking, and no matter what was in its path, it still walked right across it.
The hoof prints are reminiscent of the famous devil's footprints, which were rumored to have been discovered in England in February of 1855. The descriptions of the tracks are identical, and they were also found in the snow. One of the other interesting similarities I found in the two cases is that they both feature accounts of the creature being able to fit through very small spaces. It's also worth noting that similar stories have been found throughout history, but not at the scale of the 1855 and 1909 sightings.
Now that is intriguing that they've got the exact type of creature in England and the same kind of experiences going on, like the footprints. The footprints is actually another famous story in England, like he said, just like that. That's another one that I found years ago. And it doesn't make any sense unless it truly is a demonic creature that has entered the world.
But footprints in the snow weren't the only strange things happening in 1909. In fact, from January 16th to the 23rd, there was a flurry of sightings in the Pine Barrens and beyond. There are reports of the creature attacking a trolley full of people, of firemen who attempted to spray it with water only to be attacked themselves, and of a woman whose dog was eaten by the devil.
So what I find really intriguing is the number of witnesses here. You have a trolley full of people. You've got the firemen. You've got the random lady with the dog. You've got people from all walks of life who are seeing this creature. Not just one person out in the middle of the woods at night. You've got numerous numerous people as eyewitnesses to this event.
Some people described it as resembling a kangaroo, while others said it looked more like a kind of ostrich. The widespread newspaper coverage of these events created such hysteria that schools were closed down, and workers refused to head to the mills in fear that they'd be attacked by what was then referred to as the Leeds Devil. After these sightings died down, reports of the creature would still spring up sporadically, all the way to the present day. If you search online, you'll find hundreds of stories of people claiming to have had encounters with the Jersey Devil.
So now that we've heard the case files from the 18 and 1900s, let's listen to some more modern day case files of the Jersey Devil.
In the late 1980s, a couple of my friends and I took a camping trip to the Pine Barrens. We headed out on our bikes and did our share of partying that night. The next day, while everyone was asleep, 3 of us decided to hit the trails a bit earlier than usual. We were about 100 yards away in the woods when my bike stalled out. I looked and found that my friends had stalled also. At first I thought it had something to do with the terrain, or maybe something to do with the nearby power plants. 50 feet away from each other, we tried to start up our bikes, when suddenly from the woods we heard the most horrible, piercing scream. It sounded inhuman, like something being tortured. Once back at the camp, they asked us if we had heard screams earlier. They had heard them too. 4 miles away. That night we headed into the local town because we ran out of booze. We went into a bar and I ordered a drink, still in shock from what I had heard earlier that morning. The bartender asked, "Hey kid, what do you see, a ghost or something?" After I told him the story, he smiled and said, "It looks like you met our little friend." He then asked us to come out back. He showed us a tin garbage can that was shredded to bits. It looked like the shreds were made from something with 3 claws. I've never returned to the Pine Barrens since, and I do not plan to go back.
The locals seem to be very well aware of this creature, right? The screams that could be heard over 4 miles away. Once again, it matches the 1800 case files of screams in the woods, right? The local was very familiar with it. And what I really find intriguing, and you guys have heard my story about the chupacabra. I'm sure I've told it more than once here on this channel and on the station here. But the chupacabra had a 3-claw paw print. That is one thing that I personally witnessed. I have seen this paw print in the mud. So the fact that the Jersey Devil also has a 3-claw print, if you will. Well, it's got hoof prints, but it's got the 3-claw hand. It shredded that trash can, and like he said, it looked like it had 3 claws. I don't know, it just kind of struck me odd because the chupacabra track that I seen also had 3 claws.
So the legend of the Jersey Devil has persisted for hundreds of years, but what's the true story behind the lore? For starters, the Leeds family were a real family that lived in the Pine Barrens in the 17th century. In fact, many of their descendants still live there today. Daniel Leeds, the family's patriarch, had arrived in New Jersey from Leeds, England as a counselor to the first royal governor of New Jersey, Edward Hyde. Leeds was well educated, with a keen interest in religion as well as the latest scientific discoveries. In 1687, Daniel Leeds began publishing his own almanac with the help of a man named William Bradford, who was one of colonial America's first printers. Almanacs first started off as simple pamphlets that contained weather forecasts and planting dates for farmers, but they eventually evolved to something akin to modern magazines, containing essays, political commentary, and entertainment. Leeds' almanac became popular but was quickly met with harsh criticism. You see, Leeds was also a devout Quaker. The Quakers are a religious group that emerged in England as a new Christian denomination during a period of religious turmoil in the mid-1600s. The Quakers reject elaborate religious ceremonies and don't have official clergy. They value simplicity in what they describe as a search for inner light. Quakers at the time were shocked by Leeds' almanac because of its depictions of astrology and other things that they considered blasphemous, such as weather predictions. They went as far as to buy up all the almanacs in circulation in order to destroy them. While Leeds was initially apologetic to his Quaker brothers, he was secretly angered by their actions, eventually breaking away from the group and continuing to publish his almanac. In 1688, he wrote a book called The Temple of Wisdom, which was largely plagiarized from other works. The book dealt heavily with occult themes, which further stirred the pot between Leeds and his former Quaker brothers. Finally, by 1699, Leeds had had enough of the Quakers and published an anti-Quaker book called The Trumpet Sounded Out of the Wilderness of America.
So to say that this guy become an outcast among the Quakers is an understatement.
The book claimed that Quaker theology denied Christ's divinity and accused them of being against the English monarchy. The book, coupled with his allegiance with the controversial Governor Hyde, caused the Quakers to fire back with a series of pamphlets that went as far as to accuse Leeds of working with the devil. This is how the association between the devil and the Leeds family first emerged. But it wouldn't be long before the family's name was further tarnished with such accusations. In 1716, Daniel Leeds retired and turned the almanac over to his son, Titan. Titan redesigned the almanac's masthead to include the family crest, which featured a mythological creature known as a wyvern. Wyverns are suspiciously similar in appearance to descriptions of the Jersey Devil. Some years later, in a bizarre twist of fate, Titan became the enemy of none other than Benjamin Franklin, who at the time was an up-and-coming printer from Philadelphia. Franklin had began publishing Poor Richard's Almanac in 1732, and as it grew in popularity, he saw the opportunity to boost sales by taking shots at Leeds' Almanac, which at the time was his main rival. Franklin used his almanac to antagonize Titan Leeds, going as far as to claim that he had used astrological techniques to predict the exact date of Titan's death, which he said would occur on October 17th of that year. When October 17th came and went without incident, Titan accused Franklin of being a liar and a fool, and thought that the public would see right through Franklin's antics. But Titan had greatly underestimated just how much of a troll Benjamin Franklin was. Instead of admitting he had lied, Franklin took things a step further by claiming that Titan Leeds had in fact died and come back as a ghost. Franklin treated the feud as a joke and a ploy to try and sell copies of his almanac. But Titan Leeds took it more seriously and was never quite able to shake off the association with ghosts and devils. He died in 1738. Poor Richard's Almanac went on to become the most famous almanac in American history, and the Leeds Almanac has been all but forgotten by time.
So what do you guys think? Was the Jersey Devil just a bit of propaganda? If so, how does it explain the English sightings and the many sightings even in modern day? Or could the Jersey Devil actually be a creature that is demonic upon the earth? What about the rest of the animal-human hybrids we've heard about tonight? The goat man and the reptile man and the frog man. Those definitely don't explain those guys, right? In the end, ladies and gentlemen, all you can do is listen to the case files, apply a little common sense, and you be the judge. We got to close close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the Dark Wolf's Den Show for Thursday, June 24th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry, we've got the weekend kicked off right, and the weekend fun has only just begun. That's right. Tomorrow, June 25th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. AJ the Ripon Rabbit comes back for a Friday night episode of the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. He's going to be talking about confidence tomorrow night. How do you get more confidence? How does it help? And how can it affect your everyday life? All that and more coming up tomorrow, Friday, June 25th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, exclusively on Ripon Common Sense Radio, the Ripon Rabbit Hole. Then on Saturday, June 26, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, AJ the Ripon Rabbit comes back to the airwaves with yet another episode of the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. He's going to be talking Saturday about decisions. Decision making, another very important aspect of our lives. Are we good at decision making, or could we use a little bit of help? Of course, decision making is never an easy thing, and he's going to be discussing all that and more on Saturday, June 26th, 2021. 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, once again right here on Ripon Common Sense Radio. And every show here on Ripon Common Sense Radio starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, that's right. Then on Sunday, June 27th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, our buddy AJ comes back with one more episode of the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show, and he's going to continue his summer video series. Or I'm sorry, summer visual series. I got that all messed up. And we're going to be taking a visual tour of the Sideshow Circus. Ladies and gentlemen, I haven't been to a circus in years. I am so looking forward to this virtual circus tour. I know the museum tour was so much fun last week. These guys, if you haven't checked out this new visual series AJ's doing on Sundays, I definitely suggest you check that out. And then next week, guys, don't forget, let me make sure, check my calendar. Yes, next week is the Fantastic Fun Weekend. So make sure you come back next weekend for even more amazing, outrageous fun. And that's going to close out the weekend here on Ripon Common Sense Radio and RiponRabbitHole.com. Speaking of the RiponRabbitHole.com, make sure you hop on over there and hop on our mail list. That is RiponRabbitHole.com. That's right. Over there, you're going to find the 24/7 Backstage Lounge, my favorite place to hang out. So where I'm going to be right after the show. Also, this is where Champion Sports Nation hosts the Tuesday night videos in the 24/7 Backstage Lounge. He hosted the first Tuesday of every month. And make sure you come on back and check it out. I believe Sandy B won the title last time, so shout out to her. And we look forward to seeing that next round and who comes out as the champion next time. So come on back to the 24/7 Backstage Lounge, get comfortable in the seat, and make sure you're there next Tuesday to have a good time. And maybe even just watch the show. I mean, I enjoy just listening to them sometimes, right? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, while you're over on the RiponRabbitHole.com, also make sure you drop down the Rabbit Hole. That is our exclusive social media site over there, Down the Rabbit Hole. Make sure you drop in and say hi to the other rabbits and drop us any kind of information you got over there, because I'm always looking for new topics to talk about. Speaking of new topics to talk about, if you guys have a topic suggestion, make sure you go over to the groups section on the Dark Wolf's Den, the Dark Wolf's Den group on the RiponRabbitHole.com, and drop us a line. Let us know what you would like to hear us talk about. That's right. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go now to my favorite hangout once again, that 24/7 Backstage Lounge I mentioned a moment ago. And I hope to see every last one of you guys over there. Remember, if you'd like to support us here at Ripon Common Sense Radio, make sure you go to the website and look at different ways we have over there to support us. Also, if you are listening on the Dark Wolf's Den Show YouTube channel, down in the details section, we have links to cryptocurrency addresses. If you would like to send us cryptocurrency, we definitely will accept that as donation, as well as links to PayPal. And I do have a Patreon set up. It's a $1 Patreon. I don't have any content over there, but if you'd like to help support us, just $1 a month, we'd very much appreciate it. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And on behalf of AJ the Ripon Rabbit, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, Walt House, everybody involved here at Ripon Common Sense Radio, we thank you for listening, and remember, until next time, stay awake but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Bayless and this amazing music. If you need a custom soundtrack for your next project, make sure you check out Tom Bayless, Red Shed Studios. Information in the Dark Wolf's Den Show, details, description box below. Get down with it, Tom. We got a couple moments. Get it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And from my mountain cave to you around the world, I wish you a wonderful and amazing night. Bye, everybody.
I'm lost and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonder.